Hi, how are you guys doing? I hope you're having a great day. A happy Friday to all of you. I'm joined by my girl, CJ. She's here, and the famous Dr. Walls, of course. You know, what show would it be without him? We're going to have a good time today. We're going to talk about a little bit of everything. I've got all kinds of things that I'm prepared to talk about, but of course, I'm a physician, I'm a doctor, I'm here to answer any of your questions. So if you've got one for me, now would be a great time to call. The number to call is 713 668 1230. Again, that's 713 668 1230. We love hearing from our listeners. We like to answer questions that are relevant to you because we know that you all have questions. You may have something going on in your life right now and you just don't quite know what to make of it, or you may have gotten a bad report or some kind of diagnosis from a physician and you're not quite sure what to make of it, or some new medication. So if you've got a question, now's a really good time to call. We love answering questions here and sharing our experiences. And this hour goes by so fast. The next thing it's over, and we don't want to miss out on getting to know you and to getting to answer your questions. Now, I've had quite a number of you all come to my office recently who've heard the show. And shout out to all of you because I really appreciate you guys coming in. And of course, shout out to Larry and Sherry and Nady and Alma and Alex and Eddie. We so appreciate you guys. They are the wind beneath my wings and really help keep me going. And they are so good with services and answering questions. So they're a very, very critical part of the team. And of course, CJ is she is so very, very important to me, and so I'm grateful to her. So we've got some stuff to talk about today, but I see we've actually got someone on the line already, I think. So we can go ahead and take our first caller because we don't want to keep you waiting too long. Hey, caller, how are you?
Hey, good afternoon, Dr. King,
Hey,
CJ, and Dr. Walls. How y'all doing? All
hey,
right.
what's going
Hey,
on?
Dr. King, let me find out you and Teddy Pendergrass dated in the previous life.
You know what? I
You were one of the
wish.
ladies, or maybe you were one of the ladies on the front row of one of his concerts back in
One
the
of the
day.
ones throwing their panties up on the, on the stage.
Oh, wait.
Oh my
You,
goodness.
you said it, I didn't.
You know what? I was a little bit young, and I grew up in a family that was like Fort Knox. My mom wasn't about to have any of that kind of stuff going on. So all I could do was
Gotcha.
just watch it home and and imagine and
Yeah.
fantasize. But I'm still fantasizing about him now. But yes, he
Gotcha.
was all that, and then some.
Gotcha. Well, Doctor, real quick, I got a two-part question for you.
Okay.
Try to make it brief. Number one, is COVID more or less now the new common cold or the common flu? That's the first part of my
Uh-huh.
question. And number two, do you recommend that people like still wear masks, especially indoors and like closed tight spaces with small or large crowds of people,
Okay.
especially for someone like myself who has a weakened immune system because
Uh-huh.
I do suffer from asthma and
Hmm.
allergies.
Okay. Have you been vaccinated?
Yes, ma'am.
You have. Okay. And
Totally. Yes,
you
ma'am.
got the two shots and then the booster?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great. Those are great questions, and thank you so much for calling and asking those questions. First of all, is COVID like it's not the flu? In many ways, it's going to sort of behave that way because it doesn't look as
Mm-hmm.
if we're going to lose this. This bug is going to be around. When we had other things happen in the past, like the swine flu years ago, the Asian flu, they tended to go away. I mean, now are the bugs still in the world? Yes, but we weren't dealing with it on a yearly basis. But it seems with COVID that it is going to continue to mutate and it's going to be around. So those in the health care business that do predictions are really gearing up that we're probably going to need to look at COVID as a chronic problem in our lives, and that we may well require boosters maybe on a yearly basis. So, but in terms of influenza, it is a different organism. They're both viruses, but they are not the same viruses. And while influenza for most of us, it's really more of an annoyance when you get the flu. Every year, people do die from influenza, but COVID is a bit more serious, and that's the reason why we lost over 1 million people in this country from COVID, and that was the importance of getting the vaccination, and then of course getting the booster. Now, for something like you have asthma. And so that is something that does put you at slightly increased risk. I would say, though, that the good news is that because you are fully vaccinated and boosted, your likelihood of becoming seriously ill with COVID is considerably reduced. Now, it doesn't mean that you couldn't catch COVID, because anybody could catch it. But in terms of, are you going to wind up in the ICU on a ventilator, that likelihood is diminished quite a bit because of the fact that you've been fully vaccinated and boosted. Now, when you're out and about, it certainly doesn't hurt you to wear a mask, especially when you're in an area around people who you don't know their vaccination status. Excuse me. Yeah, I would definitely do that. Now, I've seen some people in their cars wearing masks. They're driving by themselves. And I'm like, does it what? The Uber drivers, yeah, okay, must be. Because I'm just like, you know what? Are you going to give yourself COVID? I mean, what does that mean? But, if you're out and about and you're in a crowd of people where you don't know their status, then yeah, I would definitely consider wearing a mask. It certainly doesn't hurt. And when you're wearing a mask, we're talking about an N95, okay, or a KN95. I've seen people wearing all kinds of like tissues and fabric over their face. Exactly. And that's not giving you any of the protection. You may as well just not wear anything at all. But the N95 mask, that would be a good move for you. But I'm very happy to know that you are vaccinated. So even if you were to contract COVID, your likelihood of being seriously ill from it is really important. And it's very important for people to understand that being vaccinated doesn't stop you from becoming infected. You could still contract it. It's just what the vaccine does is that it's got your immune system loaded up with antibodies to go after that virus once it gets into your body. So you're not likely to get sick. And for you, if you were to contract COVID, you should definitely let your doctor know right away, because there are things that we can do to help you. And for those of you out there who are not vaccinated, if you contract COVID, you definitely need to let your doctor know, because we do have some antiviral medicines out there now that are very effective in stopping this thing in its tracks so that you don't go any worse with it. Okay. Okay.
Well, the reason I was asking to the first part of the question is because people are still contracting it with very mild, small, very little symptoms at all. Some even asymptomatic.
Yes, that's right. And that's why it stays around.
So that's what.
That's the problem, because you could have it and not know you have it, especially if you've been vaccinated. And let's say you got it, you were exposed to it from somebody who wasn't vaccinated and was infected. Now your illness is going to be minor or maybe nothing at all, or you might just attribute it to seasonal allergies. And but you are still infected with the virus. Therefore, you are shedding the virus, and so you could then pass it on to somebody else. And that's the reason why this virus is around, and it just won't go away, because we have so many people who were suspicious of the vaccine. Of course, there was also a delay in getting the vaccine, and so you've got a pretty significant number of people out there in the world who are totally unvaccinated. And so as long as we've got people like that, this bug is going to be around. I mean, the reality is that, we've gotten rid of a lot of very serious diseases because of vaccinations. And, things like polio, you don't see that anymore. I think there was a case of polio recently here in the United States, and everybody was completely freaked out about it because polio is gone. The reason was because it was part of the school immunization program. You couldn't go to school if you didn't have that vaccine. And so what happened was that it eradicated it. It got rid of it. Now, sometimes people come here from other countries where they have not had the same vaccines, and that's how you'll occasionally see something pop up. But see, we haven't done that with COVID. We haven't made COVID vaccination something that everybody has to have in order to do something like go to school or get a driver's license. So, it's still a choice type thing. And so for that reason, the bug is still going to be around. And so, it's going to be a chronic problem, and something that we're going to need to look at every year in terms of whether or not people need to get a new booster or vaccination.
Okay. I appreciate it. Thank you as always, Doctor.
Thank you. It's good to hear from you. You take care. Bye-bye. Okay, we've got another caller on the line. Hey, caller, how are you?
I'm doing fine. How are you doing, Dr. King?
I'm doing great. How can we help?
Okay, I want to ask a question beyond COVID.
Mhm.
At a certain age in your life, do your body or your legs and things start giving out? I've noticed that lately my legs are like really cramping lately, and
Mhm.
it's like it's hard for me to get up, and I'm thinking my muscles are deteriorating. I kind of
Mhm.
went online and looked at some things to see what age limit that people start walking bent over, or their leg they start walking really slow. Do you have an answer or something that I can look at more about that?
Now, you had mentioned COVID at the very beginning, or did you have COVID?
Oh no, I was
Oh,
just
oh,
saying this
okay.
is beyond COVID.
Oh,
I
okay.
just
All
looking
right.
at the
Okay.
COVID conversation.
All right. I got you.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we have a lot of syndromes that are associated what we call post COVID. Where people develop problems after COVID infection. So, I thought that's what you were asking about. Um,
Nah.
Well, there are a lot of things that kind of make us sort of break down with time. Some of us will
Mm-hmm.
develop arthritis. That's pretty common. Even if it's not like the immune-based arthritis, like rheumatoid arthritis, we can develop osteoarthritis. Also,
Mm-hmm.
just as we get older, our hormone levels drop, our energy level
Mm-hmm.
drops. We start to just feel a little sluggish and not like our usual
Mm-hmm.
selves. Um, it's when you start feeling that way, it's time to see your physician to go ahead and get a good physical examination and to have your hormone levels measured. And
Mm-hmm.
that's something that actually I had actually planned to talk about today on the show was hormones because we're nothing if we're not hormones. That is the human body is hormones. That's how we operate.
Mm-hmm.
That's how our body functions is with hormones all throughout our bodies. Literally every cell in your body has a receptor for hormones. And so in men have high levels of testosterone and they have very low levels of estrogen, but they still do have estrogen. Women have high levels of
Mm-hmm.
estrogen and lower levels of testosterone. By the time you turn 30, those levels start to drop. And it's a
Mm-hmm.
slow drop. And so you don't feel it right away. By the time you're in your 40s and certainly in your 50s, that's when you'll start saying, ooh, my back hurts, it aches, I'm sore, I can't get up, I feel sluggish, I feel tired. In
Mm-hmm.
addition to that, other things would be sometimes a little mental confusion. You walk into a room and you can't quite remember why you went in there. A
Mm-hmm.
little irritability. The sex drive might start to wane a little bit. You can't
Mm-hmm.
quite do what you
Mm-hmm.
used to do, or you can't quite do it as long as you used to do it. And
Mm-hmm.
so all of those things could be a sign of hormone deficiency. Very common, very normal, to be honest with you. I've never known a man who has not experienced some drop in their hormones. And the way in which you feel it can be with body ache, muscle aches, tiredness,
Mm-hmm.
fatigue,
Okay.
irritability. So
Mm-hmm.
that's the first thing that needs to be tested. And that's a blood test. Very simple, straightforward. If you have health insurance, it generally will cover that. And then we need to talk about hormone replacement. And the way that I do it in my practice is with something called hormone pellets. We use bioidentical hormones. That means those
Right.
hormones look just like the ones that your testicles made when you were a younger man. So it's not going to give you any
Okay.
trouble. It's not going to make you feel sick. It's not going to do anything to you that those hormones didn't do. You're not going to get cancer from it. Nothing. It's just going to make you feel better. Now I do the pellets because it's easier and it's safer to do it that way. When we put the pellets in you, when we just put them on your butt, it takes all of like 10 minutes to do. It's simple, very simple, straightforward. And the way in which we do it this way, it lasts 6 months in men. So they don't have to do anything. All they got to do is just go out and live their best life and be very happy with how the way they feel. There are some guys out there that get the hormone shots. Get those testosterone shots. That's a synthetic
Mm-hmm.
testosterone. It's not natural. It's not the same as what your testicles made. It's slightly different, and you have to give yourself a shot on a regular basis, on a weekly basis. And so you feel great for a while, and then it wears off. Get another shot, you feel
Does
great for
that
a while.
increase your
Hmm.
Doctor, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Does
Yeah.
that increase your body strength? I mean, like, I'm talking about in my legs and
Hmm.
things like that. Would that increase that?
Well, what it does, the testosterone will increase your metabolism. And so if you start
Uh-huh.
trying to work out or trying to get stronger, you're going to build muscle way faster than that.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's a really good thing to have. First of all, we just need to know what your level is. And
Mm-hmm.
once we know the level, the numbers say it all. I mean, they just say it all. And so we need to get your blood and to take a looky see and see where you're at with that. And by the way, for those of you out there listening who don't really have a doctor, you're thinking, wow, I don't have a doctor. I don't know anybody to go to. I will see you in my office. We offer a basic physical exam visits here for just $99. If you don't have insurance, or if you're underinsured, or you've got huge high deductibles and it's just not worth it to go to the doctor, you can come to my office. And let me just give the office number so that everybody can write that down. That number is 936-224-7990. Again, that's 936-224-7990. And that's just a basic office visit. And we can kind of start figuring out what's going on, and then, take it from there. Because I know there's a lot of folks out there that want to see a doctor and they just don't have the means, to see anybody. And we're located in Houston off 1960 at Red Oak. That's where I'm at right now. So by all means, if you need to see a doctor and you don't have someone, you can see me, or talk to your doctor and ask about hormones. Ask about getting a good physical examination and then having your hormone levels measured, because that very well may be what's going on with you. Okay.
Doc, I'll be seeing you soon. This is Eddie Robinson. How you doing?
Hey there, Eddie. I'm doing great.
All right. Hey, Dr. Watts, how you doing?
Hey.
And all my KTOH members over there and family members. Hello, everybody.
Oh, we're happy to hear your voice. All right. You take care. Thanks, Eddie, for calling. All right. Let's take our next caller. Hi, caller. How are you?
Hey, Dr. King. Hey, CJ. Dr. King, I dated a lady a few years ago.
Uh-huh.
And when I was dating her, two guys I couldn't stand was Idris Elba and Teddy Pendergrass.
No.
Wow, she was in love with both of those. I couldn't stand it. Anyway, I ain't mad at you, Doc.
All right, thank you. I appreciate it. Well, that's only because I can't get through that, because I can't see you. So I got to see them. Okay, does that help a little bit?
Hey, Doc, but okay, I really want to come to see, because I'm really your neighbor at one of the offices I stopped by, but I called your secretary, and the health insurance that I have, I don't think you, she said that y'all don't recognize that, but you said I could still come in and see you and we could work out something?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, right on. That's all I need to know. Okay, the first caller brought up a good point about the COVID and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew an individual that just refused to take the COVID-19. She just didn't believe in it. She thought it was a hoax.
Mm-hmm.
In August 21st of 2021, she called me and she said, guess who got COVID?
Yeah.
Because she had tested positive for it 9 times before.
Wow.
But so she figured she would be okay. But August 21st of 2021, she said, guess who got COVID?
Wow.
September the 2nd, 2021, she was gone.
Oh,
so my point is, COVID is real, and she was one of them ones. She really didn't exercise. She really didn't care about eating right and stuff. But my question is, what about the people that eat right, exercise, get plenty sun, take immune fighting stuff? Should they worry about catching COVID, or are they okay not getting any of the 3 shots? And I'll hang up and listen. And thank you, Doctor.
Okay, yes, thank you for that question. That's a really good question, because I do have a fair number of patients in my practice that have chosen not to become vaccinated. And the reality is that you can try to boost your immune system, and there are things you can do, taking zinc, getting lots of rest, fluids, things like that, turmeric. You can do things, and to some degree, I mean, you're going to get some improvement in your immunity. We don't have a way to actually quantify that, to measure it and say, okay, now your immune system is this and it was that. We can't do it. So we don't know. When you're in the world of supplements, it's very nebulous. You just don't really know, how much of an improvement that you're getting. So you really can't rely on that. It's just not a wise way to go. And I know a lot of people who have not been vaccinated. They've chosen not to for whatever reason. They don't believe the vaccine is safe. They don't, they just got their own, whether it's religious or, philosophical or political reasons. They just don't want to take the vaccine. And as I mentioned earlier, this is something that is voluntary right now in our country. It's not like the old polio vaccine, where you had to, get vaccinated or you couldn't go to school. You had to get the measles, the mumps, rubella vaccine, or you weren't going to school. You had to show it, and I mean, that's just the way it was. And there was a reason for that, because those diseases were lethal. And I remember as a young girl, when I was in what's now called, middle school. When I was a little girl, you used to call it junior high, but my home ec teacher, whom I loved, by the way, she was the most fabulous woman, but she had polio. And so she had one leg that was smaller than the other, and back in those days, it wasn't unusual to see people like that. She had a little brace on her leg and she had contracted polio as a little girl. And because of what the polio virus does. And you don't see that now. I guarantee you that nobody listening on this show has seen anybody with polio. Okay, there's a reason for that. It's gone, and it's gone because of vaccinations. Vaccines save lives. There are kids who in college who died from meningitis because their parents wouldn't get the meningitis vaccine, and they went right up there and contracted meningitis and died. I think there's a commercial on TV right now with a young man who's lifting weights, and when you scan down his body, both of his legs are gone because he was infected with meningitis when he was in college, and the effect of that virus is so virulent, and it goes after your body so fast, he wound up needing to have his legs amputated. So, these vaccines are real. They help. COVID is real. It's one of these things where I've got patients who've had COVID multiple times and they've survived and gone on and done just fine. However, you just don't know who's going to be the one that's going to contract it, and your body's not going to be able to handle it. And when that happens, then you have something like what we just heard, where someone has a tragic loss of life, and then everybody's looking back and, it's sad and it's tragic and it's overwhelming, and it was completely unnecessary. Now, listen, you guys, if you've got a question about COVID or about any other topics that are of interest to you, I want you to call me. The number to call is 713-668-1230. Again, that's 713-668-1230. And, I'm glad that we're getting questions about COVID because it sort of was a big part of our lives. Then it kind of waned a little bit, and you don't really talk about it that much. And but it's still there. It's still real, and people still need to care about it. So you've got to take advantage of the technology that science has to offer. There are people who are not in the ground right now because they were vaccinated, and there are people who are in the ground because they weren't. And that's just the truth. Now, I want to also remind people, if you want to see a doctor, you don't have a physician, you can come see me, and we do $99 office visits, and I'm happy to help you in any way that I can. And you want to make a comment?
I have a question.
Oh, okay, question.
I was reading in that great paper, Houston Neighbors. It's Sickle Cell Awareness Month.
Yes,
And
yes.
Can you just give us a little primer?
Okay,
on
yeah.
Sickle cell?
Sickle cell is a very important disease for people who have the disease itself or the trait. You don't hear a lot about sickle cell today as you did maybe 30, 40, 50 years ago. I went to med school at Howard up in DC, and there's the National Sickle Cell Center was there. And so we used to take care of a lot of sicklers, and my background is emergency medicine. And so we used to see them in the emergency room all the time. And sickle cell disease, well, let me just talk about sickle cell. We've all seen pictures of your red blood cells, and they're kind of round, and they're round for a reason because they have to go through your blood vessels, whether it's your arteries or your veins. And the arteries and veins are made to accommodate those red blood cells going through the arteries down to your tissue to deliver oxygen, coming back out into your veins and going back up to your heart to deliver the carbon dioxide that it picked up from the cells, and then to get new oxygen. And everything is just, hunky-dory, all things fine, blood's just flowing along, blah, 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 blah. Well, there is a genetic disorder where the shape of those red blood cells can become distorted under certain circumstances. And when that happens, the shape of the cell goes from being round, the way it's supposed to be, to being the shape of a sickle. It's kind of like it's like if you were to take the circle and then just cut it in half and just take one half of the circle. The blood cell is shaped like that. Now, that's a problem because your red blood cells are not, your arteries and your veins are not designed to handle that. And so when those cells go from being round to shrinking down and becoming like a crescent, like a sickle, they get stuck in the blood vessels as they're traveling along. They get stuck, they clog up. So what that means is that now the oxygen that they're carrying that's supposed to be going to your tissues, it can't get there because it's gotten stuck. And it's extremely painful. So that's why they call it a sickle cell crisis, because the red blood cells have gotten all out of shape and they can't do their job, which is to deliver the oxygen down to the tissue, and they just clog up those blood vessels, and it's extremely painful. Now, there's a lot to sickle cell. I mean, the outcome of having that problem is so severe, because whenever you have something that obstructs blood flow, now you run the risk of cutting off the blood supply to an organ. You know, one of the organs that sickle cells often will cut off the blood supply to is the spleen. And the spleen is an organ that most of y'all probably didn't even know you had, right? It's just sitting there quietly, you know. It's
Nobody ever says, my spleen
is hurting me, right? Man, I'm gonna kick you in your spleen, you know.
Right.
So you don't hear it, but it's in there. And your spleen is a very, very important organ for your immune system. A lot of your immune cells are housed in the spleen. They're made in the spleen. Your body breaks down red blood cells in the spleen. So when those sickle cells block the blood supply to the spleen, it essentially kills it. It dies because it doesn't have, you know, any blood going to it. And the outcome of that is that people with sickle cell disease, where that happens to, they get real sick real easy, because the white blood cells, the immune cells that are supposed to be made by the spleen, aren't being made anymore. So we have to really look out for those people and give them special vaccines, once again, vaccines to protect them from the types of bugs that those antibodies were supposed to kill. But when, in addition to that, it can also go up to your brain. It can also cut off the blood supply to your brain. And I used to see a lot of young babies, young kids with sickle cell disease that had had a stroke. You know, I mean, when you think of stroke, you think of somebody that's over 60, you know, but we would see kids that were less than 10, you know, and they would have had a stroke because they'd had a sickle cell crisis and it cut off the blood supply to their brain. And so they wound up having a stroke. So the kind of things that can do this are infections can do this. People that are in the wrong, like if you're in a pressurized cabin where the pressure, your body pressure is altered, that can cause the cells to sickle. And this is something that we now screen for. We can do blood testing to see if you have the gene for this, because you need to know that. Okay, now most people who have sickle cell disease know it, because the disease makes itself known pretty early. You know, there are things that we look for in little babies. You know, we can kind of tell something's wrong. Then we go ahead and we do the test and it confirms it. Now, this is a disease that in order to have it, you have to get it from both parents. Okay, so that means both mommy and daddy need to at least have the trait. Okay, now once they have the trait, that means that one of their genes is normal, one of their genes has the sickle. And if you are the baby of those two people and they both give you the sickle trait, then you have the disease, okay? Because you need to have both traits from both parents in order to have the disease. Now, if one of the parents gives you the trait, but the other parent, they only gave you the normal one, then you just carry the trait.
Yes.
And you typically live a nice, normal life. You know, I mean, every now and then you might get little achy pains here and there, but you're not going to have those sickle cell crises. But what's important is that you need to know that you carry that trait. Because then when you marry, if you were to marry someone who carried the trait, then you need to know that there's a chance that any offspring could inherit the disease or the trait. If your spouse has neither, then the worst that can happen is that you'll give them the trait, the baby the trait, but they won't get the disease because they have to get it from both parents. Now, you know, you wonder, why in the world did this happen? You know, where did this come from? Why, you know? And we know that this is very prominent in the African-American community, and that in Africa, there were some health benefits to having the trait. Now, having the disease, you tend to die sooner because you have more of these sickle crises, you know, you can have strokes, you can have all kinds of problems. So their lifespan tends to be a little shorter. But for people who carry the trait,
shorter?
yeah, well, we're trying to be encouraging here. Because you know what? I've known some people to live to be in their 40s and 50s with it. You know, it's possible. Depends on the access to care, you know. But when you carry the trait, like I said, for the most part, you don't even really have much, you know. But what it does do is it protects you from things like malaria. And there are certain forms of malaria that are particularly virulent, very dangerous. And people who carry the trait, they didn't get it. They did fine with it. Whereas people who had neither trait from their parents, they were just completely normal, they could contract malaria and they could die. And so part of the reason why sickle cell is still around is because the people who carry the trait live, right? Right. And so then if they then make babies with somebody else, you know, who has the trait, you know, at the very least, they're going to produce a baby that carries the trait as well, or they may have a baby that has the disease. But as long as you've got somebody carrying at least that trait and they're procreating, they're making babies, that trait is going to carry on. And so that's why we like to know if you are a person that carries at least the trait, because, you know, when you're talking to a guy or you're talking to a woman, you know, and you're asking about their family, and, you know,
are you my cousin?
Exactly, you know, and you know, what kind of job do you have? What kind of car do you drive? And you know, exactly, you got to know, because you may be choosing to procreate with somebody who carries the same disease, and you all need to think about that when it comes time to making a baby. You know, if you both are carrying the trait, then there's a 25% chance, you know, that you're going to make a baby that has the disease.
And so how can those of us who don't carry the trait or, you know, to deal with the disease, I've heard that that's one reason why they need more African Americans to register with the bone marrow donor system.
Yes.
Is because these patients typically need that.
They need blood transfusions all day long. And, you know, the thing that was really tragic, because you know, we call it sickle cell anemia. That's what it's called, because these people are very anemic, because the sickle cells, those cells that sickle up, they're no good, you know, and so your blood count goes down, and your body tries to make more blood, but can only do so much. And so these are kids that constantly need blood transfusions. Now, back, you know, in the 80s and 90s, when we would see kids like this with sickle cell, you know, and they'd come into the emergency room, they'd need to be admitted, get pain medication, fluids, and blood transfusions. As you all know, back in that time was when HIV, you know, was starting to show up on the scene. And so a lot of these sicklers contracted HIV through blood transfusions. And that is a reality that was, you know, we didn't know what we know now. We didn't know how to screen that blood like we do now. And a lot of these children and adults, you know, were inadvertently infected with HIV as we were trying to save their lives by giving them blood. And many of them went on to succumb to AIDS, and not even the sickle cell disease. It was, you know, a byproduct of getting these blood transfusions. So, you know, these are folks that are on iron. You know, we're constantly doing as much as we can to keep their blood count up. But it's a difficult disease when you have a sickle cell disease. You know, it's funny you bring that up to me, and the first thought that I had in my mind was a night when I was on call as a young doctor, and I was taking care of a patient who had sickle cell disease. He'd been admitted. He was in his 40s, and he was an older gentleman for sickle cell, and he was having a crisis. And so we had admitted him to the hospital at Howard, and he was in so much pain. We were giving him morphine, Demerol. We were doing everything we could, and tons of IV fluids, trying to get those sickle cells out of his bloodstream, because that's what was causing the pain. It was clogging up the blood flow. And this man was just, I mean, he was crying, and he was just begging God, you know, just help me, Father. You know, I mean, it was so horrible for me. And as a Christian doctor, I was just so overwhelmed by this man's suffering. And I remember sitting there praying for him. And I asked God to give me some of his pain. I'll never forget that. I'm like, if you just pass a little bit of that over to me, Father, to let this man have some peace tonight. It doesn't make no sense for somebody to suffer like this. And he eventually succumbed to his disease, but it was just horrible. So I have such respect for this disease and the importance of knowing if you carry sickle cell trait. It's critical because you do not want to create a child with this problem, and then have to see your child suffer like that from something that could have been prevented. It's a very, very serious problem. And again, just like all things in life, in general, there was a time when it made sense. You know what I mean? And it just is a kind of a carryover. And now we still have it. I personally think that even high blood pressure, there was a time in Africa with African Americans where that made sense. It did something for them. And now it's in our genes and it just keeps going. It's now we have to respect it and not just say, well, I got pressure. And and
got a touch of sugar.
Yeah, a touch of sugar, a little pressure. Granny had it. Didi got it. It's like no. I caught it, right? Exactly, right. Speaking of pressure, Dr. Walls is pressuring me to take a break. So we're going to do that. We're going to come right back in just a minute, and we're going to talk about more interesting things, including erectile dysfunction.
Hello, this is Fred Hoyer coming to you for Bayway Lincoln. Fred Hoyer and Bayway Lincoln, a winning tradition for 25 years. You want great service, call Fred. You want great savings, call Fred at 281-929-6500. That's 281-929-6500. You want a pre-owned car, call Fred. You want a new car, call Fred. Today, again, at 281-929-6500. That's 281-929-6500. And experience the Bayway way where service is king. Right now, great savings on Lincoln Navigator. Great savings on Lincoln Aviators, great savings on Lincoln MKZ. So give me a call at 281-929-6500. That's 281-929-6500. Open Saturday.
Bayway Lincoln, 45 South at the Fuquay exit. Call Fred Hoyer, 281-929-6500. 281-929-6500. Bayway, your Houston Lincoln dealer. As you get older, your health and health care become more and more important, especially if you're a Medicare member like me. Affordable prescription drugs, great benefits, and zero cost for premiums are a top priority. Take care of your health with Kelsey Care Advantage, the Medicare Advantage plan that gives you the coverage and benefits you want most. With Kelsey Care Advantage, you get vision, hearing, comprehensive dental, and the freedom to see any doctor. Plus, you pay $0 for monthly premiums, primary care copays, and drug deductibles. No wonder Kelsey Care Advantage is rated 5 out of 5 stars by Medicare for quality and member satisfaction. Medicare, the way you want it. That's Kelsey Care Advantage. For details, call 713-442-7900, 713-442-7900, or visit KelseyCareAdvantage.com/1230. Kelsey Care Advantage is an HMO with a Medicare contract. Enrollment in Kelsey Care Advantage depends on contract renewal. Every year, Medicare evaluates plans based on a 5-star rating system.
If you're buying or selling a home, townhome, or condominium, call 713-884-0172. Call Michael Von Williams with High Trust Inspections for a complete and thorough inspection. Michael is a professional home inspector. You'll get a written report the same day as the inspection, complete with pictures and relevant comments. Michael is also a licensed irrigator with over 27 years experience. So if you have a lawn sprinkler system that no longer operates properly, or you're tired of lugging water hoses around in unforgiving heat, call Michael Von Williams with Aforce Industries Irrigation, 713-884-0172, or Aforce Industries High Trust Inspections, 713-884-0172. Call now.
Hi, I'm Dr. Winnie King, owner of Winnie King MD Aesthetics and Wellness. Do you want to look and feel the way you've always dreamed? Well, that's the goal in my office. My practice is a unique combination of conventional medicine and alternative options to enhance your wellness, sexual health, and beauty. I offer bioidentical hormones, ozone therapy, Botox, fillers, sexual rejuvenation for men and women, laser therapy, microneedling, PRP, smart lipo, my medical grade skincare line, and more. Call my office at 936-224-7990. I can't wait to help you look and feel the way you've always dreamed.
Close the door. Let me give you what you've been waiting for. Baby, I got so much love to give, and I want to give it all.
Oh, you know, every time I hear Teddy P, it puts me in a good mood. Good mood. You're listening to the Dr. Winnie King Show. I'm Dr. Winnie King, and we are talking about all kinds of things today. But you know what? He's talking about giving you what you've been waiting for. So we need to talk about that. You know, if you've got a question, we're almost out of time, but if you've got one, we want to give you a chance to have your question heard. The number to call is 713-668-1230. Again, that's 713-668-1230. And we're going to talk about giving to you what you want in just a minute. But we've got somebody on the line, I think, who has a quick call. So let's take our question. Hey, caller, how are you?
Good. Thank you. Is there any advantage or disadvantage to taking vitamins at night?
Say that again?
Vitamins at night.
Vitamins at night? No, not particularly. You know, I mean, there's no right or wrong when it comes to vitamins. You can take them at night. Okay. I would just stay away from like the B vitamins, B12. That might give you a little bit of energy. You might be marching around your house all night. Yeah, but just regular vitamins, vitamin C, vitamin D, that kind of thing. Yeah, you can take those at night.
Okay, so during the day, I'm standing up using the restroom way more than when I wake up to use the restroom, but at night. So why is that a problem? Or at least I read information saying if you wake up a couple of times during the night, use the restroom, there's a problem, but you use it, you use it more during the daytime. But why is it a problem at night, though?
It's not really. I mean, not necessarily. I mean, there's no particular reason. I mean, most people get up to use the restroom at night. I certainly do. I wouldn't be overly worried about that. I mean, are you being treated for any health issues?
No. But I read that, you get to a certain age.
Right.
They indicate that wake up, then use the restroom, or I guess you have to use the restroom. That's why you wake up. Right. Which one? I'm not sure which one it is. But
Well, no, you will. Yeah, your body will wake you up. You know, when your bladder gets full to a certain point, there's a feedback loop that goes to your brain that'll wake you up to tell you to go. I think the issue that they really are referring to with older men in particular at night is people that are having problems going to the bathroom. You know, they get up, they go to the bathroom, they can't go because they are having an enlargement of their prostate gland. And so they're standing there over the toilet trying to go and pushing, and they're having difficulty. But if you're able to get up and go to the restroom at night, that's fine.
I appreciate that.
Of course, my pleasure. Thanks for calling. All right, so let's talk a little bit about giving you what you've been waiting for. I have quite a number of patients in my practice recently have come to me, and people I've been taking care of for a while now. Men and women, but let's talk about the men to start out with, that are having difficulty. They are coming in saying that they're having difficulty achieving an erection or maintaining an erection or being able to actually have an orgasm. They're just having all kinds of difficulties in different aspects of it, and frustrating for them because when they were, 18, 20 years old, all they had to do was think about sex and they were, the flag was up, and now, that flag is at half mast. And it's just not doing what it used to do, you know. Mr. Happy is now very Mr. Sad. So, you know, it's been very difficult for them. I was going to say it's been hard on them, but that's the problem. It hasn't been. It hasn't been hard on them. That's the real problem, you know. So, you know, I think that's a sensitive conversation. I think Dr. Walls got to pass out.
Can I just hold up my Baptist finger and tip out?
Well, you know what? It's not a funny matter. It's a serious matter. We are by not all means laughing about these problems in people. But, you know, the important thing is to get somebody to evaluate you. And that's something that I do in my practice. You know, we do a lot of that. The first thing that we like to do is to start out by measuring your hormone levels, because we need to know in particular where your testosterone level is. It does. Like I said, we're nothing if we're not hormones. I mean, everything is about hormones. And when you're young, when you're in your 20s and 30s, that's when guys, you know, actually when guys are in their teens, they're at their sexual prime. And so by the time they turn 30, that testosterone level starts to drop. And by the time they're in their, you know, late 40s, their 50s, certainly in their 60s, their testosterone level is low. And once that happens, the things that were affected by the testosterone will not work as well as they used to. So some of the symptoms would be a kind of a decrease in the drive, the desire, you know, to actually have sex. You know, it's kind of like, yeah, you know, maybe tomorrow. Yeah, we'll see. I don't know. Let's watch this Netflix movie, you know, and let's just, yeah. Yeah, let's save up for that, you know. It's like they just don't quite want to do it anymore. They're a little irritable, you know, fussy, you know, just like any little thing kind of sets them off. They just sort of just have a short fuse. They may find that they get confused very easily. Like in the past, they could handle a lot of different things at one time. Now they can do one thing, and they're just like, if you bring anything else to that picture, they're just like, oh no, you know, this is way too much for me. They're very grouchy.
Okay,
Grouchy.
were you saying something? I was just,
Yes, we were talking. I know. What you know what that mental confusion. You know, you walk into a room and you kind of feel like, you know I came in here for something. I didn't just walk in here for no reason, but I cannot remember what it was. And then 3 hours later, it'll come to you. You know, so and even guys will sometimes get sweaty. You know, they'll actually flush. They'll get like a hot flashy kind of a feeling. So that coupled with, you know, insomnia, don't sleep very well, just not feeling good overall. And, you know, these are the kind of symptoms that you can have when your testosterone level starts to drop. And once that happens, then you're going to suffer for it. And your sexual performance is going to also be affected by it. So, and, you know, you're making a great point, CJ, the pouch, you know, that belly, you know, the guys get, you know, that mid-gut belly, you know, that they get. All of that has to do with, and I know Dr. Walls doesn't know anything about that, right? So, you know, but, you know, all of that is a part of that testosterone level dropping. It slows your metabolism down. It makes it hard. And these are guys that'll go to the gym. They're trying to work out, trying to lose weight, and they can't, you know?
I've seen them when they ride the bicycles, they're cycler, and they have them big legs.
Yep, and the big old gut,
you know.
and not a thing is coming off, you know? It's so frustrating. And it's because until we correct that hormone deficiency, you're going to really be spinning your wheels. And that's one of the things that we do. And again, you know, my office visits start at $99, you know, to just do an assessment, and we can kind of go from there. But what we need to do is get some blood on you. We need to find out where your hormone levels are, because for men, if you have a very low testosterone level, that can be corrected with testosterone pellets. And that's easy to do. Very, very affordable. It really works out to just a little bit over $100 a month. And when we put the hormones in you, it's going to last you for 6 months. So this is a great, great, great way to address those symptoms that I talked about. Now, I've been talking about men because, you know, guys really struggle with, you know, seeing a change in their sexual potency. However, I do this just as much in women. And women have the same kinds of symptoms. You know, they gain weight in their mid-gut area. They don't sleep well. Their sex drive goes down. They're irritable. They have that mental fog, mental confusion, everything that I described. And for them, it's more like sometimes a vaginal dryness can also occur. So again, measuring your hormone levels, that's going to be critical to finding out where you're at. And then again, with the hormone pellets, we can absolutely make this better. And it works out to about $100 a month for women. When women get their hormones replaced with the pellets, it lasts for about 4 months. And they do very, very well with this. I mean, it's awesome how much better they feel. Not to mention that when you get hormones replaced this way with the bioidentical hormones, that means just like the ones your body used to make, your risk for Alzheimer's disease and osteoporosis goes down. So enough about that. If you are interested, if any of those symptoms that I just described sound familiar, then you need to call me and let's get going. You know, there's a lot of people getting these hormones, and some of them may actually be your friends and neighbors that are feeling great, living their best life, and they're not telling you a thing. And you're just looking at them saying, wow, they look great, you know, and they're so active, you know, and they are, you know, they're just look like they got it like that. And it's like, no, they got them hormones like that. That's what they got. So, you know, sometimes people will get the benefit of something and not tell other people about it. But there's lots and lots and lots of folks out there, you know, hundreds of thousands, you know, people getting these hormones. So really important. Again, my office number, if you would like to call and make an appointment, is 936-224-7990. Again, that's 936-224-7990. And I know we've got a caller on the line. I just want to just mention very quickly, though, this also dovetails into a diet program that I mentioned a couple of weeks ago on the show that I want to bring up to you guys again because it's awesome. This is the semaglutide diet. Semaglutide diet. Now, this is a medication that's been around for a long time. It's been used in drugs like Ozempic and Rybelsus, but it's been discovered that in higher doses, giving yourself this injection once a week, that you can lose up to 20% of your body weight. So that's going from like 200 pounds to 160. And this is a fabulous, fabulous, fabulous program. It's hard to find. I happen to be one of the few doctors around here that has it at a price that's affordable. It's a little over $100 a week. And we have the medication, the syringes, we give you the shot, measure you. The thing that's really amazing about semaglutide is that it takes away your desire to eat. You get full very quickly. You don't have much of an appetite. And when you do eat, the food goes out slowly. So you feel full even longer. And I've got folks losing weight that are doing everything wrong, drinking wine, doing everything they're not supposed to do, and they're still losing the weight. Now, that's not what we recommend, of course. We want you to monitor your intake of food and also exercise. But this is an amazing diet, and it's a game changer in the weight loss world. And so if you are somebody who would like to lose weight and who doesn't want to lose weight, you should see CJ. She looks fabulous. She's been losing weight. As a matter of fact, I've lost 17 pounds and counting on this. You know, it's just amazing. And it's straightforward. It's safe. It's FDA approved. It's not dangerous. And it works. And both men and women. I've got men and women on it, and they are just tickled pink. My biggest problem is getting them to tell their friends.
Don't want to tell.
They don't want to tell anybody because they just want to just, you know,
look good for the holidays.
Look good. Right. And then, you know, when people ask, girl, what are you doing? They're like, oh, I just been working out.
Just cutting back.
You know, and it's like, tell them. As a matter of fact, as an incentive to tell somebody, if you do sign up for this program and you bring someone with you who signs up, then we'll give you the full Insular chair protocol, which is something I've spoken about on the show before. This chair that helps you get tone in your pelvic region so that if you have any trouble with urinary incontinence, this will pretty much take care of it. And that's a $1,500 program that I will give you for free if you are willing to come yourself and also bring someone else. So if you'd like more information about this, call my office. That number is 936-224-7990. Again, that's 936-224-7990. And I've got some folks that have done both. They've done the hormone replacement, and then they've also been on the SG diet. Yes. And yeah, that's you, CJ. And I've got quite a number of people that are on it. And you know, you don't even recognize them. They don't even look the same. They feel so much better. You know, the thing about the hormones, people are like, I don't know about them hormones. You know, I heard somebody got cancer. Well, these hormones are bioidentical. Okay. So what that means is that they look exactly the same as the hormones that your body used to make. So if they were going to cause cancer, the hormones that your body had been making for the last 30, 40 years would have caused cancer, okay? There is a problem with synthetic hormones, no question about it. And I mean, they're used still, and, you know, people do okay on them. But I don't work in that world. We just do things that are natural, things that are bioidentical, and so it's totally safe. I've had some people ask me, well, if you get the hormone pellets and then if for some reason you don't like it, are you stuck? Like you have to keep getting it over? And it's like, no, just don't get them anymore. They'll wear off. And when they do, you're going to feel bad like you did before, That's usually when my patients really appreciate the pellets. They get them, they feel better, and then when they start to wear off, that's when they're like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize how bad I felt, because this is what my old normal is. And now I realize that I didn't have to feel like that. I could have felt like this all this time. There's no reason not to. In my personal opinion, everybody needs to be on this. I mean, it's just, why not? What are you waiting for? If you're 50, 60 years old, what are you waiting for? This is your life, and you get the right to decide how you want to live it and the quality of the life that you have while you're living it, because at some point, we're going to all be gone, but while we're here, if we can live a life that's joyful, with rest and good sex and happy and clarity, and we know where we're at and we're not confused, why wouldn't you avail yourself of that? And then of course, losing weight with something that's going to help you stabilize your blood sugar. And as I mentioned, semaglutide is a medicine that is used in Rybelsus, it's used in Ozempic. So it was originally used for diabetics. Now you do not need to be a diabetic to be on the semaglutide diet at all, because it doesn't drop your blood sugar like that. What it will do though is lower your hemoglobin A1C, which is the test that we use for diabetes. Now, I've got a lot of patients that are diabetic, flat out, they're truly diabetic, but then I've got a lot of people who are pre-diabetic. Their A1C is not in the normal range, but it's not in the diabetic range either. It's in the in-between range. We call that pre-diabetes. And those folks, we always tell, we need you to lose weight, because we know that with type 2 diabetes, diet and exercise can completely reverse that disease, and you can still go on and have a healthy, happy life. But what most doctors will do is just tell you, go lose weight. And you're like, well, if I could have done that, I would have done it by now. I didn't need you to tell me that. They don't have any tools, to help. And now we do. Semaglutide is manufactured by a pharmaceutical company under the brand name Wegovy. But unfortunately, Wegovy costs about $1,500 a month. And most people just don't have an extra $1,500 a month sitting around. And because it's considered weight loss, that's what the FDA approved it for. Insurance companies won't pay for it. So if you have a pharmacy card, that's all well and good, but they're not going to cover it. So that's the reason why I've dealt with private compounding pharmacies that have been able to make this, manufacture it in a way that's slightly different. It's got some lipo-B plus in it, and that's how it's being sold as a different drug at a considerably lower amount to cost. Now, CJ, you've been on this program, for a while. Tell our listeners in the last minute or so we've got, what's it like?
It's great. Your eyes. I remember, I'm from the hood, Studewood, over on the north side. Shout out to Big T Washington alumni. Big party this weekend. You can't eat. I've been on it for a few months, and I still want to eat, and I still want to eat all the things I like to eat, and I make the plate like I used to make the plate, and I can't eat it. I never finish my food, and I'm full really fast. It's true. I nibble a little bit. I notice I'm more of a nibbler now. Yes. So I mean, it's working. I don't know exactly how much weight I've lost, because I didn't weigh. I didn't want to know, because I was so disappointed in myself. But I have lost over 2 sizes, and I'm almost down to the 3rd size, because my clothes are getting bigger still.
Okay.
I'm smiling, yeah.
I hope you can hear that smile in her voice, because there's nothing more frustrating than, losing weight, gaining it back, losing weight. I mean, we've all lost about 500 pounds over the years, right? Thousands. You can buckle down for a minute, and lose 5, 10, 20 pounds. And then next thing you know, you're right back up there again. Exactly. So, this is a medical diet. It works. It's safe. And you're going to find that, your desire to eat is going to be what's going to be different. You're going to just not be able to eat as much food as you used to eat. You just can't.
And if you do,
oh my goodness. Yeah. If you do, your body is going to reject that extra food. So you're going to find that you have cramps, you know, you may get diarrhea, you may throw up. You know, they're calling this like a chemical bariatric surgery. You know, it's like a chemical gastric sleeve, you know, or bypass. And so it's like the same benefit without the surgery, you know, and the thousands and thousands of dollars that you have to pay. And it doesn't alter your GI tract. You know, once you've had bariatric surgery, you're altered inside. You know, this doesn't involve surgery at all. It's just an injection you just do once a week. But the result is very similar in that your brain, you know, you're kind of like, not really want to eat. And the thing that's going to trip you out is that you're going to feel like you're supposed to eat, because back in the day you would eat. But then when you're honest with yourself, you're like, I really am good. I'm really good. I'm not hungry. And that's how that weight comes off. So the SG diet is what it's called in my practice. And if you would like to learn more about it, the number to call is 936-224 7990. I've got everybody in my office on it. Everybody's losing weight. And I can also say with complete honesty that every single patient that I have put on this diet has lost weight and losing it on a weekly basis when they come in. So, I mean, it's just amazing. As a doctor, I'm excited because, you know, of course, people want to look great. But for me, I know that internally they're getting better. You know, their blood sugar's dropping, their blood pressure is dropping. And that's what's really important, because that's what's going to keep them around for the rest of their life here on the earth in a good way. So again, that number is 936-224-7990. And I cannot believe it, but the hour is up. We are out of here, and I get to go home and put on some more Teddy P and get a glass of wine and relax and just think about, you know, all those beautiful songs that he used to sing. But I'm going to also pray that you guys have a wonderful, blessed, safe weekend. Be careful on the road. There's some crazy people out there. Drive safely. Let them go. Get ahead of you. It's okay. You're going to be all right. I just want you to arrive alive, okay? You guys be safe. We love you here, and we'll see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.
KCOH Houston, Legacy, Civics, and Soul.
Love this station.
1230 The